Right, welcome back to all those who've been following the Sopwith Pup build. Those who have been following this and looking on the website will know that the basic airframe structure is all completed now, with not a lot left to do. I've decided just to take a little bit of break from some of the fuselage bits and pieces where we've got to do the cockpit area and things like that. I turned my attention to getting some of the flying surfaces and that covered. So without further ado, we're going to have a look at covering the stabilizer and elevators. First thing we need to do before we actually start covering is we need to apply some covering film adhesive. This is what I use. It's called Cover Grip by Deluxe. Okay, and it's just a white liquid. Looks a bit like ordinary white glue. What I tend to do is pour some in a pot like so, and with a bit of sponge, dip in the sponge and then run round the edges with the glue, with the sponge. That gives it a nice even coating, and that way we're not putting on too much, as you'll see. Just enough that when we put our covering on, it will actually seal and allow the covering to stick to the wood. Okay, so it's just a matter of running along like that. When you fill the sponge up, you can do quite a lot. It's just making sure you get the areas that we're going to accept the film all nicely covered. Okay, these rivulets in here, they're recessed, so we don't need to cover them. The other thing as well on here, this is the bottom surface, so I'm only just going to do the edges here because I will cover the whole of the stabilizer. But when we come to glue this onto the model, I will cut the required film out so we get a nice purchase onto the actual fuselage itself. Again, just make sure that you get all your leading edges done, trailing edges, and your sides like so. This dries very quickly as well, so by the time I finish doing this and done the other side, we should practically be ready to start putting on the iron-on covering. So put that one to one side. While I'm waiting for that bit to dry, I will just do our elevators, same principle again, and then when we come back we'll start looking at putting some of the covering on. Right, welcome back again. As I said, the elevator and the stabilizer have been coated in Cover Grip and left to dry, and now what we need to do is start applying our covering medium. The covering medium I'm going to be using for this model is a product called Solatex, and this is actually antique Solatex, which I require for this model. This will be applied, and then once it's stretched we'll then dope it and then put our final colouring to this material once we've got it all on. But to start with, what we need to do, we need to bring our stabilizer back into the picture. And as you can see, I've already done this, but we need to pre-mark out the Solatex strip. So I just like to have roughly about an inch overlap all the way around, as you can see here, around here. Okay, so once we've got that, this text actually has a backing on it, a clear backing, so hopefully we'll be able to get it off fairly easily. It's just a protective layer to stop any dust and that getting onto the actual glue surface, and then just peel that off And there you have our covering ready to be applied to the stabiliser. What I do, I'm going to start with the bottom first, and then that will get placed on top of our stabiliser like so. And then what we need to do, we need to use this tool here, which is a heat iron. Sorry, I can't bring it closer because of the cable. This is a heat iron, specifically for the purpose. You can use the White's iron if you're brave enough to do so. I'm not, so I bought one of these. The other thing we're going to need throughout this is we're going to need some scalpel blades, and brand new ones, not touched. I find if you use old scalpel blades, especially on this material, you will find that we get a number of tears and we don't get clean cuts. So what we need to do now is, we've got this all in position where we want it to be. This is initially set at about 150 degrees centigrade, and what we really want to do at the moment, we want to tack each corner like so, just enough there like so, and then like this. And then what I do is I go to the other end, gently pull, so we've got a nice tight finish, each corner like that. Okay, and that's a little bit out of shot, but I've got the lead to worry about. And then after that we can just go down either side and then just gently tack into place as we work our way down. So that gives us a nice secure holding. Just carry on doing this all the way to the bottom, and then just gently place your iron, the full extent of the iron, over the top, and gradually drag it down from one end to the other. Don't worry if there's a slight wrinkle coming up, this is just the film actually starting to stretch at this low temperature. And then what we need to do from there is, once we've done that, is we need to work out at a diagonal from the centre outward all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to revert the other way, it doesn't matter, as long as I'm coming from the centre. And as you can see, that gradually just seals everything into place. And we remember, we've got our cover grip on there, so that's generating us a nice surface for this film to stick to. So we just carry on down like that, again keeping going diagonally. Okay, and then when I've done that, I'll just hold it up to show you that we're not completely wrinkle free at the moment, but this is at the low temperature. All we're trying to do at the moment is just get this covering on in a reasonably nice and straight system without actually bending the stabiliser, because if you do this too hot, you have the worry of, when this stretches, bowing the actual stabiliser. So that's why doing it this way is the best way to start off with. Okay, so now we got to that stage there, we get to, things get a little bit more complicated, but before we do that, I'll show you. I can pick this up by the film now, so we know it's stuck on, and that gives us our basic adhesion to the stabiliser. What we need to do now is we need to start rolling the edges round. We've got some quite tight curves here, I'll cover them in a minute, but to start off with, what I do again with our iron, just gently take it around, working our way down, but being careful not to introduce any creases in at this stage. Well, not at all actually. And then once we've done this side, I will turn, this is actually the leading edge we're doing now, so I will turn this around and concentrate. I'm just not going to do right to the edge there, I'll show you why in a minute. I'm just going to concentrate in bringing that around, and we want to take that around. This is on the trailing edge where our stabiliser and hinges are going to connect to the stabiliser. Okay, so to do that again, I'm not going to go right to the end there. Okay, right, now we've done that, they're basically in place, and with our knife, these edges here, I'm just going to flip this over, and then I'm going to push this down right on the edge at about 45 degrees and just slice that out like that. Again, the other edge down here, turn it round and do exactly the same thing to the other side. Okay, and then we can bring our iron up and just fold them over like so. Okay, turn it around again, and we do the same thing here. At this stage, if you do find you get a couple of creases in, as long as you hold the iron on, you can actually just gently peel it back. That's just a little tip, but this has gone all right, so that's okay. So as you can see, that edge is down there like that now. So again, with my knife, this is overlapped onto this surface here. So what I'm going to do, this knife is nice and sharp, so what I'm going to do is just going to run that and then bring that angle back to where we want it to be. So there you go. I think that came out of shot a little, I apologise. And then we can then now start thinking about bringing this edge over as well. Again, I'm not going to go right to the edge here because we've got our curve there. I don't know if you can see that. So if I hold it here, and then what we need to do is just gradually bring that round like so. Okay, and the aim is to try and get just about halfway or just over. Okay, so done that side. Again, we'll repeat the same procedure for this side. So again, with my knife, I will just take that off there, and then that leaves me enough so I can heat this side down here. Okay, what I will do is I'll do this one, and then I'll probably try and move the camera because I'm conscious that you're not perhaps seeing all of this. But there we go. But again, don't forget, we don't want to play with the curve just yet. Okay, so that's that like so. Again, it's just going very gently, very carefully, and you should find you don't have too many problems. Okay, I'm just going to reposition the camera, so I'll be back with you in a minute. Right, welcome back. I thought I'd been videoing what I'd just done after repositioning the camera, and I'd actually had it on standby, so I've progressed quite a bit from when we last saw this. So basically what I've done, I've got this covered. I've done all the edges, as you can see, they're very nice, no creases all the way around, and leading edge, and as you can hear, it's got a nice drum texture to it, and we're ready to do the other side. So hopefully, if I don't manage to leave the thing on standby again, we'll be able to pick up on doing these bits when we do the top section. So basically it's just a matter of turning this over, getting our second piece of solar tacks, placing it on top in our required location, roughly having an inch overlap all the way round, and again it's just coming along, marking one end, two end, just getting it to tack into place, and then same thing down at the far end, which I know is out of shot, so just give me a second, I'll do that. And then, as we did before, just working our way along either side, tacking into position, just to make sure everything stays nice and square, as we did for the other side. So again, I know this will probably get out of shot in a minute, just bear with me. This is quite a big tower plane. This is actually the biggest model I've built in terms of scale, so the shed is a 10 by 10 shed that I'm working in, but again it's difficult to get the camera set up so I can do an overall view of everything. So that's all tacked down now. Again, like we said last time, if we get our iron, start in the middle and then just gradually run down the middle as we did before, just getting the centre tight. Again, a few ripples come into play, but as you've seen on the last side, nothing to worry about at this stage. Okay, so again, the iron, and take it out at a diagonal. I'll do a couple this way, and then I'll start turning around, bringing it down like so. So again, it's just again working all the way down, making sure we get our edges in as well. And this just gives an even tension, and the pressure is exactly the same as what we used when we're doing the other side. So again, we're not going to introduce any bend into the stabilizer. Okay, so again, just starting to go out of shot. Realise, just bear with me a second, and I'll come back. Right, so that's okay. Now again, we just need to roll these edges over, again being careful that we don't do the corners. Again, I think I've got to just roll this round, and as I said last time, sometimes we just need to grip just in case we don't want to actually get any creases on our leading edge that are going to be permanent. So where you see that might happen, it's just handy pulling on where you think there might be a crease. Countered again, as I said before, we just roll over, start getting it roughly over this side, and then once we're happy with that, we get our scalpel and repeat the process as we did previously. Again, lift it up, scalpel in, and straight down. Likewise on the other side, and just flick that in like so. Then we can just come along and smooth that into position. Same with the other end. And that just puts that in position. Again, as before, because we got this overlap now, we want to get rid of that. So again, just run your scalpel down the side, and then just give it a little tug, and that'll get shot of that. Same at the other end. Give it a little pull, and then, as we've done before, just roll over the ends. Don't go too close to the edge at the moment, curve, turn around and do the same thing for the other side. Okay, so we're happy with that. Put the iron down. We need to turn that up now to 150. Again, I did actually try and record this earlier and I made a mistake when we first started putting this film on. When we put this film on, I said 150 degrees centigrade. It's only 100. We turn it up to 150 for the final stages. That's the real tensioning of this elevator. So as you can see at the moment, we're back to where we were with the other side. What we need to do now is, while this is heating up, we just need to work out beforehand that how this is going to go round. With the new heat, this is going to become so much more pliable, and we can get the actual contour going around without introducing any creases, again, which I'll show you in a second. So just bear with me for a minute while we wait for this to heat up. Right, all heated up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you this end only, because this is quite complicated for me to do and keep in focus. I can't keep looking at the camera and doing this. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you how to do this side, then I'll stop, do the other side, and effectively what I'm going to do now is, after that as well, is I'm going to roll all these edges round on the final heat, and then I'll come back to you and show you how we trim up and shrink this to its final tautness. Okay, so here goes. This is now 150 degrees, and again it's just a case of we need to put a bit of pressure pulling on this, and as we pull, this will shrink round into place. Okay, so hopefully I'm keeping this in the camera's view. Okay, and it's just keep playing around. If it does tend to crease, at this heat you can lift it straight back off and then re-go down again. Okay, so as you can see, I think hopefully we're nearly there with this one. As you can see, when we look on the top, that's nicely rounded, and this area here, there's no creases. These little creases down here, don't worry about them. When you come back, you'll see they're finally gone. But all it is a case, it's just keep pulling with the heat on, and all those creases will finally come out. Okay, so I'm going to go and finish doing that, and then when you come back, you'll see all these rolled round, ready for trimming. Okay, welcome back. I've done the edges with on the higher heat. As you can see, all that's left to do now for this actual section of the model is to trim it up and then shrink the top down to its final tautness. So what I tend to do, again, I'm sure people do things different ways. I use a scalpel, and basically all I do is I insert that on top of the balsa trailing edge, and then just run down from one end to the other. Giving me a nice clean level joint. Again, the same sort of principle with the trailing edge. It's a little bit difficult because it's got a curve on it, but I try and keep it at the same angle all the way along. You can see, running it down, and that gives me a straight edge. Gone out of shot again, I know. Okay, and then again, likewise down here, just run the knife in, let it fall round, and then when we get to the curve, just let it follow the curve, and there we go. Okay, same thing for down the other end. This one's a little bit, if you're left-handed or right-handed, one side will be easier than the other. For me, I'm left-handed, so this side seems to be the one that's more complicated for me. So it's just a case of doing the same thing again, and then come round to the curb, just try and keep that angle in there, and that should give us a reasonable cut. If there is a little scratch, just get a pair of scissors, tidy it up, and then it's just basically going around with our iron, and gradually just blending all that in, sealing it into its final position. Okay, I will spend a bit more time on this, but just to give you an idea of what a nice neat finish you get. Rolling it round. That is now complete, and I don't know if you can see that. Can't see the join along there, and I'll finish off doing that all the way around, and then it's just basically working on the elevators, which will be right. Having gone all the way round, as you can see, that's given a very nice finish. So what it leaves me to do now is, as I mentioned before, is I just need to stiffen all this up, getting it to the drum-like texture that's required. Again, the heat gun's set at 150. Just do the same principle as when we were initially sticking it on at the lower temperature. Run the iron across the top, from one end to the other, and then again diagonally work your way from one end to the other, applying the same pressure as you did on the underside. All the way down from one end to the other. Okay, once we're happy with that, when we lift it up, nice drum-like finish, and there we have our nice straight elevator. Sorry, stabilizer. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed watching this part. We'll move on to the elevators, which are going to be done exactly the same way. So what I'll do is I'll do them, and then I'll show you the completed project. But this you'll probably see on another video on YouTube, because this is getting quite long now. All I did forget to mention was where our hinge holes are, or slots, we just need to get our scalpel and locate where they are, run the scalpel in between them, just to open them up, ready to receive the hinges again. The other thing I like to do as well, which I won't bother showing you in this video, is now this is all completed, before I dope it, I will just run round with some 600 or 800 grit sandpaper just around these edges, just to take any slight edge there may be off. Again, it's only just something I like to do, just to keep everything tidy. You don't have to do it, it's good enough as it is. It's just something I like to do, just to finish the job off. Okay, so they're all done. So again, that's it for this video. The elevator video will just be the elevators completed, ready to go on to this, and then we'll concentrate on gluing the hinges in for their final secure positions. Okay. Just to finish off on the horizontal tail surfaces, this is the elevator. both been covered individually. Each elevator's been covered individually, exactly the way as the stabiliser was done, and as you can see, that's now complete and ready to go on the model. Thanks for watching.